Good day, everyone, and welcome to this session on risk management. Before we begin, let me ask you a simple question. Have you ever worked on a project where something suddenly went wrong? Maybe a system crashed, a project got delayed, or an important vendor failed to deliver on time. These situations happen in every organization. Risk management is not about avoiding all problems. It is about identifying possible problems early and preparing them before they become serious issues. So, in today's session, we will learn how organizations identify the risk, analyze them, prioritize them, and respond effectively using practical real world examples. So, what exactly is a risk? A risk is an uncertain event that may affect objectives if it happens. So, the important word here is uncertain. For example, suppose an organization is planning a server migration. There is a chance the server may fail during migration. That is a risk because it may happen in the future. But if the server has already crashed, it is no longer a risk, it becomes an issue. So remember, a risk may happen, an issue has already happened. So, another important point is that risk can be both negative and positive. Negative risks are called threats. For example, the project may exceed budget. Positive risks are also called opportunities. For example, the team may finish the project earlier and save cost. So, risk management is not only about preventing problems, it is also about preparing for opportunities. So, why risk management matters? Many organizations fail not because they lack talent or technology, but because risks were ignored until it became too late. Let us take another example. Imagine a company launching a mobile application without proper testing. Everything may look fine during development, but on the launch day, the application crashes. Customers cannot access their accounts, complaints start increasing on social media, the company loses customers' trust and reputation. Could this have been avoided? Yes. If the organization had identified the risk early and performed proper testing and contingency planning, the impact could have been reduced significantly. This is why risk management is important. It helps the organization reduce the surprises, improve the planning, protect reputation, save time and money, and make better decisions. So, risk management helps organizations stay prepared instead of reacting in panic. Let's come to the risk management life cycle. Risk management, it follows a structured process. There are 5 important steps. The first step is identifying the risk. Like here we ask, what could go wrong? For example, vendor delays, server failures, or budget shortages. The second step is analyzing the risk. We will ask questions like how likely is the risk to happen and how serious will the impact be. Next step is prioritization. Not all risks are equally dangerous. Organizations, they focus first on the most critical risk. Now, the fourth step is planning the response. This is where the action plans are prepared. Example, installing backup servers, conducting employee training, or purchasing insurance. The final step is monitoring and controlling risks continuously. Because risks change over time, new risks may happen. Existing risk may increase or decrease. Now let's look at another example. Suppose an organization is implementing a new ERP system. One identified risk is employee resistance to the new system. The organization analyzes the risk, will prioritize it, conduct training sessions, and continuously monitor user adoption. This process continues throughout the project lifecycle. Now, coming to risk identification. One of the most important steps in risk management is risk identification. Because if a risk is not identified early, it cannot be managed properly later. Risk identification, it simply means discovering possible events that could affect the objectives. Organizations may use different methods to identify the risk. One common method is brainstorming. Team members, they sit together and they discuss what could go wrong. Another important method is lessons learned. Organizations, they review the previous projects to identify similar problems that happened before. Like if a previous project was delayed because of vendor issues, the same risk may happen again. SWOT analysis is also widely used. It helps organization identify the strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. Sometimes organizations also conduct expert interviews to gather the insight from experienced professionals. Another useful method is checklist. So these are standard list of common risk from previous projects. Now, suppose an organization is moving to a new office building. Possible risk may include internet setup delays, furniture delivery issues, or employees being unable to access systems in the first day. By identifying these risks earlier, organizations they can prepare solutions before the problem occurs. Now let's come to the type of risk. Risk can come from many different areas inside an organization. Understanding the type of risk, they help the organization prepare for the right response strategies. Let us look at some common categories. First are technical risks. These are related to systems, applications, or technology. A server crash during deployment, software bugs, or data loss are all examples for these. Next is the financial risk. These are the risks which affects the budget and financial stability, like budget overruns, unexpected increase in cost, or revenue loss. Operational risks are the ones which affect the daily business operations, like staff shortages, process failures, or equipment breakdown. Then cybersecurity risks, they are extremely important today because, for example, there are phishing attacks, ransomware, or unauthorized access to systems. Vendor risk happen when suppliers or third parties they fail to deliver properly. Delayed shipments, poor service quality, or dependency on a single vendor are all examples. Finally, compliance risk they occur when organizations they fail to follow laws or regulations. This can result in penalties, audit findings, or reputational damage. So by categorizing the risk properly, organizations they can focus on managing them effectively. Risk probability versus impact. When organizations they analyze the risk, they mainly focus on two important factors. The first factor is probability. Probability means how likely is the risk to happen. Some risks happen very often, others are very rare. The second factor is impact. Impact means if the risk happens, how serious will the damage be? For example, a printer issue may happen frequently in an office, so the probability is high, but the impact is low. Now consider a cyber attack on a company server. It may not happen every day, but if it happens, the impact can be extremely serious. Organizations combine probability and impact to determine risk priority. Risk score is equal to probability multiplied by the impact. The higher the probability and impact, the more attention the risk receives. This helps organization focus resources on the risk that matters the most. Risk matrix. A risk matrix, also known as a heat map, is one of the most commonly used tools in risk management. It helps organization visually prioritize risk based on probability and impact. The matrix usually uses colors. Green represents low risk, yellow represents medium risk, orange represents high risk, and red represents critical risk. Let us look at some examples. A printer failure may happen often, but the impact is usually low, so it may fall under medium risk. A cyber attack, however, may have both high probability and high impact. That becomes a critical risk and requires immediate attention. Organizations use risk matrices because they simplify decision making. Instead of treating every risk equally, teams can clearly see which risk requires urgent action and which risk only needs monitoring. This helps organization focus resources when they matter the most. Risk response strategies. Once risks are identified and analyzed, organizations must decide how to respond to them. There are several common response strategies. The first one is to avoid. This means removing the risk completely. If a project activity is considered too risky, management may cancel or redesign it. The second strategy is mitigate. This means reducing the probability or impact of the risk. Example, installing backup servers can reduce the impact of the system failure. The third strategy is transfer. This means shifting the risk to another party. Example, organizations, they may purchase insurance or outsource the specialized work. The final strategy is accept. This means acknowledging the risk and preparing contingency plans if it happens. Not every risk can or should be eliminated. Organizations also manage positive risks called opportunity. For opportunity, organizations may exploit, enhance, share, or accept the opportunity. Let us take a practical example. Suppose there is a risk of data center power failure. The organization may install backup generators, maintain cloud backups, and prepare strategy disaster recovery plans. This reduces the business disruption if the risk occurs. The goal of risk management is not to eliminate every risk, but to prepare the right response before the problem happens. Risk register. One of the most important tools in risk management is the risk register. A risk register is a document used to record and track risk throughout a project or business operation. Think of it as a centralized tracking system for risk. Typically, a risk register would contain the risk description, the probability, impact, risk owner, response plan, and the current status. Suppose there is a risk that a vendor may delay delivery. The risk register may assign the project manager as the owner. The response plan may include weekly follow-ups with the vendor. Another example could be server failure risk. The IT team may maintain backup server as part of the response plan, and risk registers, they are important because they improve the accountability and visibility. Without documentation, risks are often forgotten until problems actually happen. A properly maintained risk register helps organization monitor the risk continuously and take action early. Real life risk management scenario. Now, let us look at a practical real life scenario. Imagine a company migrating all employees to a new cloud-based ERP system within 2 months. At first, the project may seem straightforward, but when the team starts analyzing the situation, multiple risks become visible. Technical risk may include data migration failure, system downtime, or internet connectivity issues. Operational risk may include employees struggling to use the new system or delays in training. Cybersecurity risk may involve unauthorized access or possible data leakage during the migration. There may also be vendor-related risk if external implementation partners delay the support. Now, the organization must prioritize these risks. For example, employee resistance may have high priority, while data migration may require very high impact. Based on this analysis, the organization prepares response plans. They may conduct training sessions, maintain full data backup, keep rollback plans ready, and schedule migration during non-working hours to reduce the disruption. This is the true purpose of risk management. Not to create fear, but to prepare organizations before problem occurs. Let's come to the key takeaways. Let us summarize the key lessons from today's session. Risk management is not about fear or avoiding every possible problem. It is about preparation. Organizations must identify the risk early because problems are always easier to manage before they happen. They must analyze both probability and impact because not all risks are equally dangerous. Critical risk should receive immediate attention and proper response planning. Organizations must also continuously monitor the risk before business environments and projects constantly change. The most successful organizations are not the ones without risk. They are the ones prepared to manage the risk effectively. Risk management ultimately helps the organization reduce surprises, improve decision making, protect the reputation, and increase project success. Thank you everyone for attending this session on risk management. I hope this training helped simplify the concepts and show how risk management is applied in real world situation. Remember, successful organizations are not the ones without risk. They are the ones prepared to manage them effectively. The more proactive we become, the more resilient and successful our projects and businesses will be. Thank you once again, and I look forward to seeing you in the next session.